Welcome to Hoystory On Air. This is Season 1, Episode 16. Thanks for joining me. It's 1st of December, 2025. Hope everyone had a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday. Shorter show planned for today. Had a bunch of stuff going on, so you're going to get what you're going to get. Let's get to it. So, over the weekend, there was a mass shooting in Stockton, California. Family about to cut the cake on a toddler's birthday party. Gunfire erupts. 4 dead, including the oldest was 21. The other 3 were children. 11 wounded. Stockton, California. California. Not Arizona. Not Florida. California. A sheriff's office believes the shooting was targeted. This is from an Associated Press report, urging anyone with information to contact his office with tips, cell phone video, or witness accounts. This is a time for our community to show that we will not put up with this type of behavior when people will just walk in and kill children, Withrow said Sunday evening. And so if you know anything about this, you have to come forward and tell us what you know. If not, you just become complacent and think this is acceptable behavior. Yes. This gets into the gun control narrative, and we're going to kind of go there because the response to this was predictable. Gabby Giffords goes on Twitter, says, "This is horrific. A children's birthday party on a holiday weekend became the scene of a mass shooting. My heart is with the families of those killed, the injured, and all of the survivors. We need our federal leaders to act. Kids shouldn't fear for their lives at their own birthday parties." Huh? Why do we need our federal leaders to act? This is California. California. What does Giffords think about California and the laws here in California? Well, I'll tell you. Number 1, gun law strength rank. A, 1 out of 50. Gun deaths per 8. Percent difference from the national average. California is great. Why are we talking about the feds? We don't know who did the shooting. We don't know what kind of weapon they used. It sounds like it's a gang shooting. What are the odds that the gun was purchased legally by the shooter who used it? Highly unlikely. It's probably either stolen or they used a girlfriend or something as a straw purchase. It's always something. If this had happened in Florida, she wouldn't be asking for federal leaders to act. She'd be going after Ron DeSantis. Ron DeSantis would have been mentioned by name in that tweet. Instead, Gavin Newsom, who's he? Maybe the gun laws don't work. Maybe gun laws only affect the law-abiding and don't affect mass shooters. As Costas Moros, Second Amendment Foundation guy, used to be with the California Rifle and Pistol Association, Michelle and Associates, all that jazz. We need our federal leaders to act. What federal gun law would you like that California hasn't already passed? Your org gives the state a perfect score. As usual, when a shooting happens in a pro-gun state, they demand state gun laws. When it is one of the states that already do what Giffords demand, they move the goalposts to federal law. Yeah, he's right. It's obvious. Otherwise, you would have seen Gavin Newsom's name in there. Gavin Newsom would have been asked to do something. And what's the problem? This is from Bing Search Copilot. The crime rate in Stockton, California is notably high. In 2023, the overall average crime rate is 486 per 100,000, which is 2 times higher than the U.S. average. The violent crime rate is 1,277 per 100,000 people, significantly exceeding the California state average of 442 per $100,000, or per 100,000 residents. Stockton is a crime-ridden city. They got serious problems in Stockton. I wouldn't want to be a cop in Stockton. It's pretty crazy. good news is number of homicides was down slightly. I'm not sure this number includes the four the people that were tragically killed yesterday, or not yesterday, over the weekend. But maybe the problem is Stockton. If I recall correctly, Stockton last had a Republican mayor just about never. And it's in California. So you're kind of limited what you can do with state laws, too, based on what the Democrats have done. Should we be surprised here? This came out late today. Go to the next slide.
It's never been gangster to kill kids. Never. It's never been gangster to kill kids. You went in a birthday party and shot people's children. So I know we're here. Parents brought their children out and they left with medical examiners. That is not human. That is not human. And I will say to those who are thinking of retaliation, when my brother got murdered, I thought about it too. It's human to want to hurt people who hurt people you love. But I had a choice to make, and I hope that the people out there in our community make the right choice and contact law enforcement, call me, call the mayor, call whoever you know, call the pastors, call your friend, turn yourself in. Because at some point, the redemption for what you did is going to happen when you see the person that created you. But you can start that process by turning yourself in and doing the right thing today.
You're here. 100%. It's gangs. I'm sure Stockton would be much safer. Every place would be a much safer place if we didn't have this gang problem that we've got in the United States. I was watching, there's the Free Press, Barry Weiss's outlet, had a debate between Alan Dershowitz and Dana Lash on we'd be better off, we'd be safer if there was no Second Amendment. And Dana made the point, and it's accurate, that if you kind of got rid of these gang shootings and whatnot, if we looked as a society more like, those European countries they point to, we've got about the same homicide rate if you get rid of the gangs. You can't. Wishing doesn't make that go away. By the way, if you see that online, it's a good debate to watch. But why is this sort of thing happening? Well, we got a couple more stories show you why this sort of thing is happening. This is from last week. Bethany McGee, Chicago train, burned alive. She's pictured on the left. The guy who did it to her, allegedly, is pictured on the right. He had 72 prior arrests, and he was out in public. What do we do? What do you do in this sort of situation? What's the problem? The problem is this guy isn't behind bars. 72 prior arrests. Maybe a couple of them, they got the wrong guy. But I'm guessing the vast majority of them, they got the right guy. Why is he out? I suspect the arrests weren't for littering. So that was last week. This happened a couple weeks ago, but it's only been kind of on the news. Made a splash last couple days. Guy broke into a home in Denver. He has been arrested many times. They're not sure whether he had an ankle monitor on at the point that he broke into this home, creeping outside this family's children's room. Victim says he was informed by Denver police that the coolie, who's the alleged perpetrator, not much to be alleged there, they found him in the house, was released on bond days after the arrest. The Denver District Attorney Office said the judge set the bond at $5,000 property surety or $500 cash, and he posted the cash bond. There's your problem, too. We got case after case. There was the case in North Carolina, Irina, the refugee from Ukraine who was here in the country working at a pizza spot, and guy behind her just stabs her to death. and walks away. We have, contrary to what many on the left will tell you, we have an under-incarceration problem. There are more people that need to be behind bars. I'm all for, hopefully, reforming them and, reintroducing them into society. But the last guy was 72 arrests. This guy was out after, another burglary. We need judges to stop letting these people go free and sentence them to serious time, and we need them to stay in jail. I mentioned, we talked a little bit about this before last episode, the tragic shooting. I say tragic. Outrageous. Should be outraged. Tragic is when something, it kind of just happens. No one's to blame. We had 2 National Guard soldiers shot in Washington, D.C. last week by an Afghan asylum seeker. I'm not sure if seems like his asylum request was granted. So I'm not sure if that's still the correct term for him. There's lots of stuff that's still unclear. Obviously there was some failure in the vetting department. I'm not sure, we'll get into that. Because I want to have a longer talk about that, because I'm not with everyone who says, "Oh, get them all out of the country." There's a not insignificant number of people who truly helped us in Afghanistan, who truly saved lives, and we owe it to them not to abandon them to the Taliban. But along the same lines, I'm not sure a lot of that vetting occurred, and I think that the Biden administration, in the wake of the disastrous pullout in Kabul, I think they we need to goose our numbers. We need to show that we did not do what we obviously did, which was, run off with our tail between our legs and abandon people and strand people who we should have gotten out. So we'll just take any warm body. But then there's the other response to this. This is Jane Mayer. She is a writer for The New Yorker. This is so tragic, so unnecessary. These poor guardsmen should never have been deployed. I live in D.C. and watched they had virtually nothing to do but pick up trash. It was all for political show, and at what cost? Well, first off, the murder rate decreased in the time they were there. There's something to be said for a show of force. But this is so stupid. She writes for the New York Magazine, and this is the depth of analysis we get. Nate Hochman, 2 National Guardsmen just got shot, and your conclusion is that we don't have a problem with violent crime. Yeah. She wasn't the only one who was spewing this line. Juliette Kayyem, a terrible and avoidable tragedy in D.C. This was in the Atlantic magazine. Trump was warned that members of the military could be attacked. Well, yeah, because you guys are demonizing them. I mean, do we need to go through all the videos of, Trump's Gestapo and blah, blah, blah? And then John Pavlovitz, got no idea he is. He's an author. Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth are culpable for endangering the National Guard by putting them in harm's way in the nation's capital. In the nation's in the capital. Putting troops in the capital is putting them in harm's way. Because, wait a second. They did nothing but put up trash. People were safe there. Putting them in harm's way in the capital. He's got a book. I'm not sure it's worth the paper it's printed on. If we have another COVID, pandemic, and you can't find toilet paper, maybe his book. But This is insane. Over at National Review, Charles C.W. Cook, in response to these kind of posts by people on the left, in what possible universe could that be an appropriate response? If, as has been the case this year, the federal government decides that it is necessary to deploy federal agents to enforce the law, it is permitted to do so without the expectation those agents will be murdered. Politically, one can believe that Donald Trump's decision to deploy the National Guard was a good one, a bad one, or a middling one, and that postulate will not change one whit, whether they are there to pick up trash, fight an alien invasion, or solely to smile for foreign tourists. There is no circumstance in which killing them is appropriate. Amen. But how screwed up in the head do you have to be that is your response? It's just all sorts of crazy. This last one, I love the. On a lighter note, ladies and gentlemen, I point this out. This is Chelsea Clinton. I was in journalism at the time. This was 2014. I was out in journalism by this time. By the time this story broke. But Chelsea Clinton got hired by NBC and paid $600,000 a year. Did she have previous experience working for the local TV station in Des Moines, Iowa? No, she did not. Did she do journalism in college? No, she did not. But this gets her, but it was obvious to everyone at the time. NBC News hired her so that they could curry favor with Hillary Clinton, who was, senator from New York, thought to going to run for the White House in 2016, which she did. So let's throw some money at the. I mean, it's not the first one to do it. It's the same sort of thing that happened with Hunter Biden. The top one is Microsoft's Copilot. The bottom one is Grok. The question is, how many stories did Chelsea Clinton do for NBC News? Fewer than 30 stories from 2011 to 2014. 30 stories. The Grok says it's 14, totaling about 58 minutes of airtime. Ladies and gentlemen, a short time ago I was going through, I did a, what do you call that, temporary subscription or introductory subscription to newspapers.com. I searched my name through their archives, and I determined from newspapers.com that I did approximately 200 stories from the middle of June through December of 1994. That was my first 6 months out of journalism school, working for the Lompoc Record, more than 200 stories in 6.5 months. She did 30 in 3 years. It's that sort of nepotism that gets to me. In fairness, well, both sides here. Jenna Bush Hager, I think at the time she was just Jenna Bush, one of George W. Bush's daughters, is also working for NBC News. The difference between the two of them is Jenna Bush appears to have some talent at it, because she's still doing it. And from all indications, she does it well. I don't watch. I guess she does the fourth hour of the Today Show. When I was growing up, there were 2 hours. Now it's 4 hours. But unlike Chelsea, she appears to have a talent for it. But I don't like this nepotism stuff, especially in journalism. There's lots of it. In fairness, Ben Dreyfuss probably benefited from some of that, but he's actually a decent writer. He worked for Mother Jones magazine for many years, or several years. I'm not sure how many. But this happens a lot. It's not what you know, it's who you know. It's not what you've done, it's who your parents are. Which brings us to this.
You cannot put on the American people that Democrats were the one that were hurting people, making this plight.
Who was casting the votes against opening the government? Democrats or Republicans?
Who was
casting the votes?
Scott, who was wanting to cut SNAP benefits?
Nobody.
Republicans
voted to
playing up SNAP benefits after 2 courts ruled that it was unallowed?
Republicans voted to fund SNAP 15 times. Democrats voted to defund it 15 times. We had to get 8 to join us.
You talk about the Affordable Health Care Act, okay?
It's terrible.
Landmark legislation is not perfect. We understand that. Democrats, Republicans, independents,
an understatement.
70% of Americans, not Democrats, not just independents, 70% of Americans believe that they should increase those subsidies past the dead mark of December, the COVID era subsidy benefits. So it's a huge, huge thing that Democrats, Republicans, 70% agree with. And look, when it comes to the government shutdown, I was of the persuasion that to go for it, I didn't really get it. Democrats wanted a fight. They got a fight. Chuck Schumer, back in last year, didn't fight. He got a lot of flack for it, particularly in his home state of New York. So they wanted a fight, but they found a fight that was worth fighting with talking about the Affordable Health Care Act. People were with them. Democrats were leading in the polls. We won big on Tuesday.
That's what it was for, right? It was for the election, right?
Well, I think we should have kept going. What I don't understand, and which I would love others to help me out understand, I don't understand why we caved so soon when the American people seemed to be on our
Because the election ended. You just said it. It was for the election.
Listen,
the election ended, then you caved.
I want you to take a good look at that screenshot there. Anna Navarro's just to the right of that guy we were hearing from, Dylan Douglas. On the left is, I'm blanking on his name, but he's a former Democratic congressman. Woman directly across from Scott Jennings, the other guy who's in the split screen, who's in the foreground here. Don't know who she is, but she's not a known conservative. And then the host is not a conservative. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on 1. It's worse than the exact opposite of Fox News is the 5. So who is this Dylan Douglas guy? Who is he? Let's find out. He is on Sirius XM Progress, Young American with Dylan Douglas. We'll take a deep dive into defining issues of Gen Z and feature candid discussions with politicians, activists, and thought leaders on a range of topics including reproductive rights, climate change, gun control, and other social and political matters. Listen to Young American with Dylan Douglas. How did he get this gig? He's young. What does he accomplish? Why is he on CNN? Well, poke around a bit. Father, Michael Douglas. Mother, Catherine Zeta-Jones. There's your answer. So Dylan got embarrassed, got his hat handed to him, and he shouldn't be shocked. He's in good company. There are lots of Democrats who appear on that show who get their hat handed to them by Scott Jennings. So he's in good company. But, he's a nepo baby. His parents are not happy. Michael Douglas and Catherine Zeta-Jones reportedly furious over son's on-air humiliation on CNN. Well, I would hope that my parents would feel the same way, but, if it happened to me, they'd probably, be better. Be better. Do a better job. But not Hollywood stars. Nope. The couple said to be furious. Zeta-Jones thought the interview was unfair and exploitative. It was a mild debate that he got a can of whoop-ass opened on him. Meanwhile, his father thought the outlet crossed a line. Part of the reason, this is where I love, part of the reason the couple was so angered by the entire situation appears to be they knew their son wasn't prepared for such a heated debate. He's 25. Charlie Kirk was doing more challenging things at a younger age. Charlie Kirk was better at it. But 25. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the first time Dylan Douglas has encountered an opposing view. It's the first time he'd met someone who didn't agree with him politically. Shocker. He managed to get through 25 years of life. Dylan's never been spoken to like that in his entire life. He's always been the golden boy, adored, protected. CNN gave him a taste of the real world, and his parents hated every second of it, said a source. Yeah. Eric Erickson has a radio show, which I would love to have a radio show at some point. Nepo babies rarely have earned their place at the table, and it never goes well for them. He's right. Dylan Douglas, congratulations. Hope the rest of this goes well for you. Do better research, think it through a little bit more. Maybe you should find a friend who disagrees with you, or a frenemy. I don't know. Just, get outside your bubble. Maybe you should watch Scott Jennings clips, so you don't stumble into the same pothole that a bunch of your predecessors have. And again, people who are more experienced than Dylan have been made to look the same or similarly. So, don't feel bad about it. It's, you're not alone. I want to thank you for joining me here today. I got more stuff slated for tomorrow, so hopefully we'll get to that. Thanks for watching. Again, please follow me on all of the appropriate social media sites. Tell your friends, tell your enemies, leave a comment. Love to hear from you. Thanks for watching.